Over the last several years, Google has consistently released interesting smartphones, and their Pixel lineup has consistently provided fantastic camera quality, even if they might have been lacking in other areas. But what if you take all those fantastic camera technologies the Pixel line is known for and shove it into a budget phone? Well, you get this. This is the Google Pixel 4a. It's a light little phone that's filled with fantastic photo capabilities, and it's only $350. With that low price, it's got to be skipping out on something, right? Or is this it? Is this the best budget Android phone? Well, let's find out with a little review. First, I do want to point out that I was actually sent this device from Google themselves, or else, how else did I get my hands on one before its actual release? That being said, I do get to keep the device. That means if I like it, I still have it. If I dislike it, I still have it. Beyond that, they don't get to view this video before it goes up, so this review is nothing but my honest opinions. Okay, we all know if you're really considering this device, you've probably watched around 10 videos about this device already and did some complex calculus to justify or deny the purchase. And if not, you know how to read a spec sheet. So I'll quickly shove some notable specs right here. Wow. Very cool. Now, the box itself comes with nothing but the phone itself, some documentation, a USB-C to USB-C charging cable, a USB-C wall charger, a SIM card removal tool, and a USB-A to USB-C adapter. When comparing this to the original Pixel 4, you'll notice quite a few differences. The 4a doesn't have a massive forehead, but retains the top speaker for stereo sound with the bottom speaker. It now has a hole punch camera on the top left corner, and the Pixel 4a only comes in one color, a matte black that makes Marquez Brownlee blush, and a mint home button. I call this colorway Mint Oreo. Also, the Pixel 4a has this radical but super cool feature that most phones these days don't have the courage of implementing. That's right, a headphone jack. Yeah, the body of the phone itself is made out of this soft textured plastic, and the slight circular indent houses the fingerprint sensor. Okay, this is a bit nitpicky, but I don't like how the plastic body of the phone feels in my hand, but most people place their phones inside of cases, so really this is a non-issue. But if we're talking about the phone without its case, it fits really nicely in the hand and is really light feeling. I do really miss phones this size because it fits in your pockets and hands so well compared to some of those absolutely massive monsters of devices. The bottom of the device has the USB Type-C port in the middle and two grills on the side. The right grill is a speaker and the left one houses the microphone. The camera bump on the back side of the phone is square shaped. This is most likely to retain the design language of the Pixel 4 and, well, most smartphone cameras in 2019 and 2020, but the camera bump on the Pixel 4a contains only one 12 megapixel camera and a flash. Overall, I think the design is very streamlined, minimal, and very modern. And in the age where $1,000 smartphones can have plastic backs, I think this $350 phone looks perfectly fine and I have no complaints there. Battery life wise, after a day of usage, the Pixel 4a had about 30% battery life left, with some light gaming, spending some time on social media, and watching YouTube videos. But of course, your mileage may vary there based on your own usage. You know when you first get a new phone and have to download a bunch of patches for your games and stuff? Or you've played a game for a while? That's the only time this device gets warm. But even then, if you had a case, you probably wouldn't feel it. I will admit though, with the Pixel 4a in my back pocket and sitting down outside in 95-degree Fahrenheit weather, did manage to make it hot. But you know, every phone gets that hot if a massive dude was sitting on top of them in 95-degree weather. The OLED screen is good, nothing to complain about, and really nothing outstanding that makes you awestruck using it. I expected the speakers to sound tiny, but the Pixel 4a speakers sound pretty decent considering its size, and I had no trouble making out voices on YouTube videos. Okay. It's gone on long enough. Let's talk about what you really came here to talk about. The camera. It's good. It's way better than what you'd expect from a $350 smartphone. In broad daylight, it looks comparable to any modern, more premium smartphone. The smartphone camera I'm comparing it to is the iPhone XS Max because that's the phone I own and because I don't have a smartphone. More recent than that, The colors on the Pixel 4a camera are pretty close to real life, although a tad bit cool toned, and its 12 megapixel camera gets decently sharp. Where this camera shines though is most definitely in high dynamic range situations. That's a word that gets thrown around a lot, but basically for cameras, dynamic range is how well a camera handles situation with varying degrees of light, the darkest parts of an image and the brightest. So take this picture taken with both the Google Pixel 4a and my iPhone XS Max. In this situation, the Google Pixel 4a does very well in this regard, and you lose all the detail under my desk in this photo on the XS Max. The same thing happened when I compared the front-facing cameras. The Pixel 4a selfie camera was wider, more color accurate, and had better dynamic range. If you want a more in-depth review of the Google Pixel 4a's camera, the Tech Chat made a great video going into length about that. The one thing I love about the Pixel camera is that there's a tracking autofocus. This means if you click on a spot on the camera and start moving the camera or the object moves, the autofocus will track the object you originally pressed. This is definitely one of my favorite features by far, and so far the only downside of the camera that I could find, which may be bogged down by the processor in this phone, is that if you snap a picture, then enter the gallery instantly to view the image, it's not done processing and takes a second or two to fully enhance the image. This is only slightly annoying, but I thought I'd point it out. Speaking of processing power, I found no real problems with the Pixel 4a's performance. Scrolling through UI elements is smooth, but when opening apps that aren't in the background, it does take like half a second, but most likely not noticeable in the normal day-to-day unless you're actively looking for it like some sort of weirdo. Okay, so now that we've gone through most of the device's features and real-life usage, how does this device compare to some devices you may be looking at? Namely the Samsung A71, iPhone SE, and OnePlus Nord. If you're within the US, definitely you can't get the OnePlus Nord. Good luck getting that. It's not available. But we'll talk about it. I feel like the OnePlus Nord is not aimed at the same demographic this Pixel 4a is aimed at. The Nord is a device built for techies. It really is. It tries to shove as much specs as it can into the lowest price they can to make a device that would satisfy 90 to 95% of smartphone users. Of course, with a roughly $500 USD price tag. While the Pixel 4a is taking the less is more approach that would satisfy probably 80% of all smartphone users. So that's my take on the OnePlus Nord. And the Samsung A71 definitely beats it in some areas, such as the larger battery and 5G support. But from my own experience owning a Samsung Galaxy product, and at one point recommending Samsung devices to people, they tend to have a lot of manufacturer and carrier bloatware and a not so great history at providing you timely software updates. But it does look like a viable alternative to consider. On spec sheets, the Samsung A71 camera looks absolutely ridiculous sounding. I don't have one that compares to the Pixel 4a, and well, megapixels aren't really everything, so you might want to take a look at that camera before even considering that phone. So keep those in mind. The iPhone SE, on the other hand, it depends which platform you prefer as well. But if we were to ignore that, the iPhone SE has a significantly faster chip that I think will make the device last longer in the coming years and get way more software updates too. But the camera, display, and battery life on the iPhone SE wouldn't compare to the Pixel 4a at all. I feel as a techie, your perception of what the average person wants in a phone is skewed. So in a sense, I'm biased. So I did some internet research to find out what phone specs people want the most in their devices and came to some not so shocking conclusions. Here's the things I consistently saw: battery life, build and durability, ease of use, the camera quality, performance, and storage. And to be honest with you, I think for the $350 price tag the Pixel is selling for, it hits all of these boxes. With the Google Pixel 4a, you also get a bunch of Pixel exclusive features, such as call screening and now playing. The battery lasted me more than a day. The Pixel series has stock Android for easier usage, a fantastic camera for its price, the phone feels nice and premium looking in the hand, and it has 128 gigabytes of storage, which is large enough for most people. And lastly, the performance is pretty good. But how do they cram so much good stuff in a device that costs as much as 269 spicy McChicken sandwiches from McDonald's? Well, they streamlined their product offering. It comes in only one color and one storage capacity, and honestly, I think that decision is going to pay off because the average person is going to love how much value they're getting out of this device. And honestly, I don't think people care about the color of their phone that much if it's matte black, because you can just slap it in a case and then the case is what changes the color of the phone. And yes, I am wearing a black shirt to match the Google Pixel 4a. However, you know, this isn't mint, but this is white. Whatever. Overall, what do I think about the Google Pixel 4a? Honestly, it's a fantastic option. There are few rivals in this price range that is as well-rounded as the Pixel 4a. They're all lacking in some category, and even though 4a is technically lacking in a way, it's missing 5G support. But the Pixel 4a seems to tick all of the other boxes for the average consumer. It's not the best smartphone around, and it doesn't have to be. It just works like how a smartphone should. If you're someone who isn't a huge techie, doesn't need the smartphone with the most cutting-edge tech, or maybe you're on a budget, the first place I'd look is right here. The Google Pixel 4a is looking like a fantastic option to start your search with and would be my current Android recommendation for a smartphone buyer who doesn't want to spend the big bucks on a good smartphone experience. Anyway guys, what do you think of the Google Pixel 4a? Are there any devices that rivals it in this price range? Is the Pixel 4a the budget phone to beat? Or do you just prefer to buy a nice premium phone and use that for a long time before replacing it? Leave all that down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and well, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.